Right now, I am with Christian Giacobbe.
Perfect.
I am Italian.
Your Italian is probably better than my Indonesian.
I think I might. Yeah, I can say some words related to football, not soccer. Football.
Okay, so.
Yeah, like atacante.
Oh wow! Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Centrocampista.
Centrocampista. Almost.
Centrocampista.
Almost.
Right. What's the word for? I'm looking for the word for the yellow card.
Cartellino. Cartellino giallo. That's a difficult one, though.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Okay. But to those who doesn't speak English, educate your fucking self. It's 2022. We should be speaking English. Dan kalau misalnya lu nggak ngerti, I'm sorry. You do understand it if someone speaks in Indonesian. You kind of understand it, right?
Maaf, aku tidak berbicara bahasa Indonesia.
We'll get into that. Tapi untuk yang nggak bisa bahasa Inggris, gue akan coba untuk buka supaya kalau gue nggak salah kan lu kan bisa bantu gue ngisi caption ya. Jadi nanti coba lu bantu aja. But right now, me and Chris are going to have I think this is going to be quite a long conversation because I really don't know. I know you by reputation.
Oh wow, good
Yeah.
reputation or bad reputation?
Great reputation.
Okay.
Chris here is one of, or maybe the person who helped shape the Bali stand-up comedy scene
Yeah.
the way it is today, and it is awesome. I've heard a lot about
In English,
lot of-
obviously, because in Bahasa there is stand-up in Bali, but
Yeah, it's true. But the English-speaking circuit in Bali is growing. It's. I heard all good things about it. My buddy Reggie moved there because of it.
Yes.
I also been paying attention to Anna's set. Annie Yang. I'm
Annie.
sorry, Annie Yang.
She's doing great lately, especially she's doing very good.
I saw this clip of her. She had an accident or something. She
She's-
had a swollen face.
She's a warrior because she has a
She's
scooter
crazy.
accident, and the day after she was on stage.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But scooter accident is also very common in Bali, right?
Oh yes, especially now that the tourists are back.
Yeah, you're right. And so Chris has his special on komika.id, which is COMIKA.id. I don't know why I did that because probably
They already
Indonesians,
know, probably.
Indonesians are probably watching this because you're from Italy. I've never heard anybody said that they bought the content from Italy. I've heard people said that they bought it from other countries in Asia, some in Europe, never in Italy. But I know for sure that people in the U.S. are unable to buy the content, which is
Yep.
something I'm gonna work on. But his special is "I'm Not Your Coach,"
Yes.
and you can buy it on komika.id for how many? How much is it?
100K, but
100K rupiah, that is. And right now, I am really interested in finding out a lot about your background.
Yep.
And because I haven't watched the whole special, I've been watching your YouTube clips or also Instagram especially. And you come across to me as someone who's very polished in doing stand-up.
you.
And I watched that interview you did with Fajar.
yeah. Oh
And-
wow, that was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I realized that we have a lot in common. Used to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
I am too. We're very good at selling things.
Yeah. I got tired of selling because honestly, I wasn't selling good products. I was good
Yeah.
at selling, but the conscience was a little bit.
I know.
yeah.
You were saying that you were, I think it was smoke selling or selling smokes?
Yeah, in Italy, that's what we call it, a smoke seller, like something that sells something that has no real value.
Yeah. That's very funny, actually, which I can relate to because I used to be a salesperson and I'm still doing selling, but mostly for the good of the comics here in Indonesia because the company made a promise to the comedians so that they can live from their comedy. And in order to do so...
Which is another thing that we have in common because that's what
Very
I'm trying
true.
to do in Bali Comedy Club
Very
with the
true.
comedians.
And also, you started out as a public speaker too. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, that's also where the similarity
Yeah.
lies between us. But I wanted to know a lot of things because that interview intrigued me more about you because you
Alright.
said you moved from from countries to countries. You have a working permit, which is the kitas, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and so yeah.
You look worried about it.
Yeah, yeah. And what was your profession? Was it that public speaking thing?
Well,
Or
just before coming to Bali, I was a sales trainer.
Just before, oh yeah, you were working for that company that you had a problem with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, as far as public speaking and comedy, I started doing when I was very young. Then I got drawn into the corporate world because my family was pushing, what are you doing with comedy? You need to start making money, etc., etc. And I did start making money. I was absolutely miserable. I didn't like my life. And but I always kept doing public speaking and emceeing gigs and motivational speaking and kind of this kind of stuff. And then I arrived to Bali in the craziest of circumstances because a very good company hired me. It was the dream job. And 2 days before I started the job, they called me and said, "Nam, we made a mistake. We don't have a job for you."
Really?
I was
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I was like, I did sign a contract. So they gave me 1 year salary and told me, fuck off.
1 year salary.
And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm moving to Bali.
1 year of salary in Bali is a shitload of money.
That's why for more than a year I didn't do nothing. I just enjoyed my life.
Yeah. Don't you think that we're too? I don't want to say that we're too cheap, but living cost here in Bali, other cities, maybe other than Jakarta, but even in Bandung, in Yogyakarta.
So Bali, this is the way I always explain it to my Italian friends. Bali, you have to be careful because if you're careful, you can actually live pretty cheap. But if you distract yourself, you start going to the beach club and stuff like that, then you spend more money in Bali than in Milan.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful. But the problem is, I think, and this might be true on your case too, a lot of people, when they say they move to Bali, it's because they are trying to run away from something or trying to change something significantly.
Everyone. But so
that's what I'm trying to say is that's why it's easy for them to be distracted with the Bali lifestyle.
Fair enough. Yes.
Yeah.
Because also, by the rules of Indonesia are different, for example, than in Europe. And as a bule, it's very difficult to move to Indonesia because you cannot just be a waiter or work a regular job because it's not allowed. Because if an Indonesian can do that job, then you shouldn't have it, which I agree with.
Yeah.
But then it means that the people that move to Indonesia, move to Bali especially, are people that used to work in Facebook or in Google, are people that usually they burn out from their job and they're like, fuck it, let's move to Bali and start chasing the dream.
Whatever that is.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's why also the special is called I'm Not Your Coach. Because 90% of the people in Bali, they sell themselves as these life coaches, gurus, even though they're 19-year-old and they haven't lived life yet.
I know. Yeah? That's also a thing here. There's a thing in Indonesia, it's called Pildacil. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not. Pildacil is actually imagine like American Idol, but for little religion. I don't want to butcher this, but you know how there's always ustad.
Yep.
Right. And so this is a competition for little ustads.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And people are looking at it weird because why are you telling us not to, do sinful things? You don't know the great things of those sinful things, sinful acts. But okay, I wanna move way back.
Yep.
You said you're from Milan.
Yep.
And you said it's Milano.
Milano.
So it's actually Milano.
Milano.
Okay, so you're from Milano. I'm trying to find out what was Milano like when you were, when you were brought up. I'm sorry, but
Milano is actually pretty similar to Jakarta.
Really?
Yeah, let's say that Milano is the Jakarta of Italy. Obviously, it's much smaller, way less people, but Milano is the city in Italy, which is like New York for the US, or Moscow for Russia, which is only business.
Right.
And if Milano obviously is a very beautiful city, and in Italy there's a lot of art, but it cannot compare to Rome or Florence or Venice. Milan is a great city where everyone just wake up early, go to work, and lives 1,000 miles per hour.
Yeah. Because I've been going places, but Italy is one of those that I haven't been to. It's on my bucket list. Although a lot of my Muslim friends would probably say, you should go to Mecca first for the Hajj before going to other countries.
You know that I lived 1 year in Saudi Arabia. 2 months in Saudi Arabia, sorry.
Really?
Yeah, because when I was younger, I used to be flight attendant. And
So you were a flight attendant,
Yeah.
you're a salesperson, you're a comic.
and that
Do you actually work for the CIA, Chris?
I wish.
Yeah, you were there?
Yeah, because we were bringing the pilgrims to the Mecca. Yeah.
From
From all over. They rented airplanes from Italy because they had more demand. And so I was going from India, from Indonesia, from all other countries. Yeah.
That's crazy. You lived a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in 6 different countries already.
Yeah. What age were you when you first started to?
16.
16.
When I
very
was
young.
16, I moved to the US by myself.
That's after finishing like.
No, I did my senior year of high school in the US. I did the exchange program.
I see.
And then after that, I started studying law because all my family are only lawyers, very boring people. And after 1 year that I was studying law, I moved to Africa, and then I moved to Iceland, and then to Greece, to Spain.
Has that always been the goal for you to be living outside of Italy? Because 16 is a very young age, and although a lot of young Indonesian, go abroad for school and everything else, but
Well, for me, it was more getting away from my family. Yeah. Because my family was fine. It's just that my father was sick ever since I was born,
oh,
and he had Parkinson's disease,
I see.
and he had a lot of money, and he spent all this money to try to cure himself. So when I was young, I was like, why do I want to make money if then I can get sick, and I want to live my life, and that's why I always wanted to move to other countries.
Are you the only kid, or
I'm the fourth, and I'm the black sheep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody else is still in.
Oh, everyone else is a millionaire and is doing great, and they're all being like, what is he doing in Bali? Playing games.
Yeah, but it's always like that, right? Usually the
I'm the
youngest-
happiest one of the.
I can
of the brothers and
imagine.
sisters.
I can imagine. I think secretly they kind of envy your life.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so you said 16 years old, you go to the U.S. Which
Yeah.
city was this?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida. What was it like? They say that Indonesia is like the world's Florida because we're pretty similar.
I can see that. Well, the temperature, yes, but it was basically every high school movie that I've ever saw.
Really?
Like they would even pass us with the metal detector before entering school. It was crazy, and it was a great experience. But it was also the same year that the Twin Towers fell down.
Oh,
2001.
2001.
So 2 weeks before, I was on top of the Twin Towers. So of course my mother was terrified because her kid was there. But it was an interesting experience. It was a very formative. I grew a lot in that year.
Yeah, but what was it like in Jacksonville? Because I have a friend during the 9/11.
Yeah.
He was living in a very small city in Texas,
Yep.
southern, and he was the only Muslim. And there was like a, they were worried about this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and he had to speak at a city hall, at a town hall, to explain what Islam is like to the people. And what was it like?
Well, basically, all the people at school, all the students that were at least 18, they all left and enlisted in the army.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was crazy. Nobody could believe it. Yeah.
And you went back after that, or you finished studying?
I finished, and that was at the beginning of the year because it was September. So I stayed until August. So I stayed a whole year there, and that's where I learned English. That's why my accent is not really Italian.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And that's also when I have 2 hometowns. I have Milano, but I did the high school when I was a kid in a small town by the sea, close to Monaco, close to the border with France, and 60,000 people. And when I came back to my high school, it's almost like everyone got stuck and I moved forward, like, because those are people that never leave their small town their whole life. And I was like, I need to get out of here.
I think moving places gives you more perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially all the cultures and the differences.
And the countries that you're going to
Yep.
are very different culturally. You told in the video with Fajar, you've been to Iceland, I think you lived in Iceland.
3 years.
Saudi Arabia,
Well, Saudi Arabia was only
Yeah.
for work, but I lived in Africa.
Africa.
I
South
live-
Africa, was it? Or-
No, is a small country called Cabo Verde, Cape Verde, which are small islands off the coast of Senegal. I actually noticed that after Florida, I've always moved to islands. That's the only thing they have in common. Because Iceland is an island. I lived in Tenerife, which are islands of Spain. I lived to Crete, which are islands of Greece. Bali, obviously, and Cape Verde. So maybe that's the thing. I'm an island boy.
This is very funny. And Indonesia is full of islands
Yeah.
too. Yeah, but during those time living in those places, are you doing the same profession or
No,
different?
it was just an excuse. I needed to go in Iceland, I was a sushi chef,
Oh wow.
for example. Like, I just needed to go. I needed to find
I see.
something.
I see.
But then after many years, before coming to Bali, is where I stopped and I was like, okay, let's start making
Yeah.
some money, and then where I became a sales manager.
Right. Oh, okay.
So before I was just doing whatever, and I was working also and that's when I also became a comic, because in Italy in the early 2000s there were resorts all over the world just for Italian people. Only Italian people would go there. They would only eat Italian food. They would never leave the resort, which is so dumb.
That's weird.
And my job was entertain them. So during the day I would just talk to people and make sure they had fun, and every night in front of the whole resort, which was 500 to 1,000 people, I would perform every single night.
Comedy, performing comedy.
Anything, comedy, musical,
Wow.
quiz shows, anything.
You sing then?
I used to, not anymore.
Oh, so you basically back in the days in the era of
It's similar to like a cruise ship comic.
yeah. I was about to say that they used to call it performing in one, where
Yeah.
a person can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And where do you own your skill to do that? How did you learn all that?
And I learned on the job, I guess. And
Crazy.
I was kind of a natural on stage. I've always enjoyed the stage. And you know it better than me, obviously, because you're very successful, but it's like a drug. You know?
It is.
It's the only drug I take, and I can't get enough of it.
Wow, that's crazy. What was it like? You were I understand that I went to Iceland, and there's a lot of American actually, because it's actually close
Yeah.
from the U.S.
And it used to be also during World War II an American base there.
Yeah, an American base, and so I met a lot of Americans in Iceland working just whatever job, sometimes hotel, sometimes bar. But I had this conversation with this lady, and she was like, "Why not?" I mean, it's a beautiful place. It
is.
Yeah, there are certain months, certain times in the year where the what's the name?
The Northern Light.
Yeah, it's the strongest, and it's just like flags
It's
flaring.
incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I lived almost 3 years there. So there I needed to find an excuse. So before dropping off of university, I got an exchange program also in university. And I was supposed to stay 6 months, I stayed 3 years. Yeah.
And what made you leave that place? Because it's beautiful, it's awesome.
Yes.
It's expensive though.
Well, but you get paid a lot as well,
okay.
so it's not a problem. I left because their economy completely collapsed. I don't know if you remember years ago, like the central bank declared bankrupt.
Yeah.
And so I left. Otherwise, I would still be there probably.
Right. And after Iceland was.
So after Iceland, I came back to Italy. I was like, okay, this is a sign, you know. Let's do a regular job.
Yeah. Okay. And that's when your family was a bit happier with you.
Yeah, well, they're never gonna be happy about me, I guess.
But okay, and so let's jump forward to the days in living in Bali.
Yeah.
So you arrive in Bali because you have that. I think it's called severance money. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even that, because I didn't even start the job. I just told them, if you don't give me a lot of money, I'm gonna sue you. And they were like, okay, here's a lot of money. So,
And you ran with it.
That's what helped having a family of lawyers. That's the only time I was happy I had a family of lawyers.
Yeah.
So I came to Bali, I just chilled for a while, and then I joined Toastmasters. Do you know what Toastmaster is?
Yeah, I was about to ask you. I don't really understand what Toastmaster is.
So
I heard it a lot.
Toastmaster is a non-profit organization, and it's the biggest public speaking organization in the world. There are about 16,000 clubs around the world of Toastmaster and 600,000 members.
So what is the?
It teaches public speaking, basically.
I see.
And you go to this path to become better and better public speaking, and you can have different branches of public speaking, like motivational, etc., etc. After 2 months that I became the president here in Bali.
That was fast.
Yeah. Then I created another club in Ubud in the North Bali. And from them, more and more people were asking me, okay, you need to do something, you need to go on stage. And that's where I created Bali Comedy Club, because I was getting tired of motivational speaking, because 90% is bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Yeah.
Pays a lot of money though.
It does. And also because, like, it's all about as a performer on stage, it's all about the reaction that you get. And no matter what, even if you do a heartfelt speech and you make people cry, you're not going to feel but cry of joy or because it's a nice story. It's not going to feel as good as when you make them laugh.
Definitely.
And so at that time, it was just, I started Bali Comedy Club in February 2020. So everyone knew what COVID was, but they don't really knew what COVID was. It's just, this bat in China, we don't know whatever it is. Yeah. And so I started, and it completely exploded because there was no comedy whatsoever in Bali.
Yeah. During those times, were there a lot of foreigners that couldn't go back home because they were stuck in Bali?
It's not that they couldn't, it's that they didn't want to.
I see.
Because also in Bali, the restrictions were not as hard as in Europe or in the US.
Yeah.
And
or maybe in Jakarta even.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was less than Jakarta. And also, this is the thing, Bali, even if you're in a quarantine, which it wasn't that long in Bali, one thing is to live in a house in Bali with a big garden, maybe a swimming pool, and one is going back to Milano in a 2-bedroom apartment, and you cannot even see the sky because you have a skyscraper in front of you.
Right.
So everyone was like, we're going to stay.
Yeah.
And that's the government made some modification with the visas and stuff, obviously, because before you had to leave every 2 months from Indonesia if you wanted to have a certain kind of visa. And that's why there was a big community of expats.
I see.
And we started performing for them and for the Indonesian. We had a very mixed crowd all the time, and that's why it was also so interesting, because we had Russians and Americans and European and Australian and Indonesian. So you would have to find something that everyone could understand.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't know, going back to doing comedy, the thing that you actually love the most, but on a very different country, it has to kind of mess with your mind a bit. Like, do I really want to do? Really,
it's easier.
All right.
And this is because, and probably for you it's the same in English. Of course, you reached the highest heights in Indonesian comedy, but everyone that speaks very well a second language, their personality is slightly different when they speak that language.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thing, and it's almost like having an armor, because it creates a little bit of distance between you, because it's not your native tongue.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I haven't done it in so long time, if they would ask me now to do a set in Italian, I'll be like, oh shit.
Yeah, I understand. But it's different from doing stand-up comedy and actually starting the scene,
I had no choice. I would love to be just a comedian. If you hire me and just give me gigs, I'll leave Bali Comedy Club. Because there was no scene, so I had to create my own scene in order to perform.
Yeah.
And then at that point I was like, okay, I cannot just think about myself. And it's like you feel a pressure and a responsibility.
Yeah.
And especially when I had Reggie moving to Bali and I had Dana Pandawa and I had Annie Young.
Dana moved? I didn't know this.
He's been with us for 6 months.
Whoa, that's crazy.
And
I really respect that guy.
And Fajar, he's working so much. I love that guy. I actually hired him from my company.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But that's the thing. You're like, okay, I need to find a way for them to be able to maintain yourself. So more or less, all the money goes to the Indonesian performers.
Yeah, I don't remember who told me this. I think maybe it was Mo, or maybe it was Duto or something. But basically, you guys were just doing that because of how fun it is to be able to perform. And you started out at one place. So Bali Comedy Club is more of a brand than a certain place, right?
Now we perform all over Indonesia, all over Bali. Yeah.
The first one was
Deus,
the semi-outdoor one.
Yeah.
I remember because there was a lot of people. There was no distancing. And I was like, I'm very worried about this. They don't care, obviously.
But this is the thing. That place is so big that we respected the regulation, because they were like, the regulation says that we can be 50%. But that place can fit 400 people. So if we had 200 people, it's still 50%.
Although it's still a lot of people.
Don't get me in trouble there. We have every single show 200, 250 people every Friday.
And when was the momentum starting to feel building up?
It started pretty much immediately, because Bali is a place where everyone takes themselves too seriously. So we were like, this is an event that finally you don't need to, they use terms like hold space, doing eye gazing. It's like, no, we're just here to have fun, guys.
Yeah.
And so the first show there were 20 people, the second week there were 40, the third week 100, and then from there just kept on growing. And ever since I started, every single week I have hotels and venues that ask me, can you do shows in my venue? Can you do shows in my venue?
Mm-hmm. And at the beginning it was only you, and then you sort of like gather.
Yeah, but that's also part of it. I had to start teaching comedy, because there were no comedians in Bali. And if I would have just let them do their set, it would have been terrible.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Every single week we have rehearsal. Every single week we go together over the material. And another thing that you're going to go crazy about is that every single week we bring completely new material.
That's crazy.
It is. Because at the beginning they were the same people. And so if they come and they see the same joke, they're not going to come back.
Yeah, I understand. But it's that's why I told you I have respect of what you're doing and what everybody else is doing there, because what we're doing here at this company is pretty similar, but on a different scale, because
obviously
I felt like the responsibility to want to grow this scene and grow, especially the industry, because if more money coming in, more comedian can, actually live from comedy.
And there's and comedy actually, I feel that now is a turning point for Indonesian comedy. I think it's really starting to grow. Because let's face it, Indonesia are not going to be happy, but Malaysia has been way ahead of Indonesia in this regard.
I agree. Their LOL Fest is really familiar with a lot of
and and that's why their international comedians are really famous from Malaysia. Well, several of them moved to England before becoming famous, like Nigel, Ang, etc., and of course Ronnie Chang.
Yeah, even Harith Iskandar is also big.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that now is going to happen the same with Indonesia.
Hopefully, because it still pisses me off every time.
And you're the trailblazer.
Hopefully, but every time Kevin Hart skips from Singapore to Australia, I was like, yo, you jumped the whole country of Indonesia. But
this is also one thing, though, that Bali has an advantage over other countries.
I agree.
Because for an American, okay, Kevin Hart is the top 1%, obviously. But let's say a good American comedian, which have been in Comedy Central a few times or in TV a few times, but it's not super famous. If you ask him, come to perform in Jakarta, he's going to be like, we'll talk. If he say, come to Bali,
they'd be like,
they're even gonna ask less money probably, because everyone wants to go. And Bali is such a unique place in the world, because I think Bali can really become the center of stand-up comedy in English in Southeast Asia.
I agree, because even in New York, they even the comics, they kind of know Jakarta, but most of them, they know Bali.
Everyone knows Bali. Everyone.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's also my joke,
and that's the ignorant bullies that don't even know that Bali is not his own country, but it's part of Indonesia.
Yeah, and but me being in New York, it's different performing to New Yorkers, or basically performing to Americans, and performing in Bali, because there's a lot of people from a lot of different. So how do you make it work? What kind of jokes you think work?
So there are some jokes that are very Bali-based, that if you're an expat living in Bali, you understand. But now it's also changing, because now there's a lot of tourists. So
you're saying, I mean, prior to that, if you joke about Canggu, they understand the reference.
If you say Ubudian, they already know that you're talking about a hippie spiritual person, for example. But so they don't like politics that much, for example, because there are old people that are sick of the politics of their own country, and they're like, you know what, fuck that shit. They, what they really, now jokes about Russians are very trending, obviously.
There's a lot of Russian too.
But even before the war.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because in Bali, if you talk, for example, if you say something about a Russian girl, it's like the ultimate gold digger.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And here the joke that work the most are the one about life coaches, and the international joke as much as possible. They like you to talk about yourself, about your experience. For example, in my comedy, not necessarily that much in that special that I released with you guys, because I started to transition into more international. That is very Bali comedy, a lot of Bali comedy, but I start there also talking about a lot about my family. For example, my jokes, I joke a lot about my son. I joke a lot about race because my girlfriend is black, I'm Italian, my son is born in Indonesia, so all the dynamics and the problem that creates.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. And how many comics you'd say right now in Bali that are working on this circuit?
So this is the thing, because Bali is a very transient place. So for example, last week we had a comedian that she's been doing comedy for 9 years in LA that was like, hey, I'm in Bali for a week, can I do a few shows?
Wow, yeah.
And they all come and go.
Yeah, so yeah, it's the circuit comedian, so they come around.
But what I'm trying to do is to grow more and more the Indonesian comedian that want to do comedy in English. Which of course the first one, the trailblazer, is Reggie, that he never was really that interested in doing comedy in Bahasa Indonesia. He was I want to do it in English. And more I want to do the same.
Yeah, and also Annie Yang was also like that, and Fajar, I think.
Yeah,
Fajar was also like that.
Fajar the same, Dana the same, and and Bali Comedy Club gave them a home to express and to
grow.
Yeah.
The thing
and now I heard, actually, I might even be participating. I heard that even Suchi is accepting English comedians now.
I heard so too.
Yeah?
Yeah, I heard so too. So that would be very interesting.
It's interesting, like
because Reggie was on the first Suchi.
He might try again.
Ah, that would be awesome, because he was using English and they didn't allow him.
Oh, wow.
And so they asked him, if you want to be in Suchi, you have to do in Bahasa Indonesia. And he was like, nah, I'll just do it in English. It takes a very strong will.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or crazy, you know?
But yeah, like when they're going to come, I think the 6th of July to the Mo is going to be one of the judge, actually. And all of Bali Comedy Club is going to try to do their sets in English, probably.
That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome.
Then I'm thinking, should I participate or not? Because if I participate and I lose to my students, that is a problem, you know.
But you know how it is. You know, the nature of competition is really weird.
And also TV has different rules.
Yeah, it's like a Twilight Zone in itself. It's it's just different. But how do you see? Is there still room to grow for the comedy scene in Bali?
That's a good question, because I don't think it can grow that much more than it is now. So the only way that it could grow, it would be if we build a comedy club in Bali, which we're in talk, and that's one of the goals, obviously. But now what I want to do, because there's not much more room to grow for the comedians that perform in Bali.
I see.
Because also it's very easy to become Bali famous. Like Annie walks everywhere, everyone knows her. I walk everywhere, everyone knows me. And that's the thing with the people that perform regularly. So I think that now, money-wise, especially for the Indonesian comedians and the people that have the kitas and the right permits, is maybe start doing shows in hotels when the hotels will be full. That could be great gigs. And then now I want to start sending the comedians to Australia and to Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. That's the only way where they can really grow.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting to know, because if comedians from outside Indonesia can come to Indonesia to do comedy, I'm thinking about maybe the Bali Comedy Club comedians can.
Absolutely. We want to. I'm talking to my lawyers, because of course I want to do things legally, and getting the right permits is.
By saying your lawyers, are you saying your brothers?
No, the ones in Indonesia. I don't talk to them that much. But we want to do takeovers, and have this network of comedians from all Southeast Asia that can perform in different venues. Because also it's more exciting for us. Because when I talk to people in Singapore, everyone always reaches out to me from Singapore, Australia, whatever. They're like, oh my God, performing in Bali must be amazing. And for me, it's like, yeah, I do it 4 times a week. So for me, if they tell, hey, come to Singapore, or in July I'll have to go to Australia, that's where I'm like, oh, now I want to do this. And it's the same for you, now that you are going to New York, you have a new fire in your eyes, because that's how it works.
Yeah, it's very true. But it's very interesting to know that I'm trying to say this in a way that it doesn't come off wrong, but basically, wherever you are in Indonesia, doing comedy is rewarding because of you're doing comedy in itself, not necessarily because of the money.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, because
But that's also performing in front of a new crowd is always a new challenge.
yeah.
Because you're not sure, is this joke gonna work? Is
Yeah.
this joke? Because in Bali, this is also the problem, which is not a problem. It's a great thing that I have in Bali, and I guess you have the same all over Indonesia. That now, just people already think I'm funny, they laugh, and sometimes it's like, that joke wasn't that good, why are you laughing?
I see. I understand.
You know?
Yeah.
You have this validation that sometimes you get away with things without really deserving them.
I understand. Yeah, sometimes they're laughing because it's you, not because of the joke.
And that's why when I come to Jakarta and perform in Jakarta, I love it because very few people know me, or the people that come and go from Bali know me. But at least 50% of people have no idea who I am.
Yeah. It's almost like that's the way I feel when I go to New York. And New York is also, it's very hard to crack New York audience.
Oh yeah, it's one of the toughest.
Yeah, they generally never smile. And so, but the best thing about it is, when they laugh, you know it's because of the joke. You know,
Exactly.
the art over the person.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Because I'm sure, like, you're Pandji, you know, you're the biggest.
Yeah.
So you say anyone to an Indonesian, they laugh just because it's you. Of course, I'm not saying you have bad material, but you know.
I understand. Yeah. That's the way. Yeah, that's the way it feels. I'm really excited about what opportunities we can work on together because I've been talking to Mo also, and there's a lot of comics in New York that I find are very good, but never really had the opportunity because there's so many.
There's so much competition.
So much competition. They're good, they're solid, and I feel like, because they're very kind to me, they're very welcoming, and I felt like...
Really? Because the New Yorkers have this name to be tough people.
I know. Some of they're just weirded out by my mannerism because they... You know how Indonesians are sungkan. We're sungkan bunch of people. You know, we feel kind of bad, and they felt like, what are you? Just act natural. You know, they just
because also New Yorkers are very unapologetic.
Yeah, very true.
And the Indonesians are very polite, very respectful.
Yeah. And so they're very kind to me. It's because I help them too. Because I pop in their podcasts, several podcasts, and they gain. You know, But for the most part. They're very kind, and I really want to bring them here. I really want to take them to Bali. Yeah. Because, especially because their girlfriend wants to go to Bali too.
Of course. But actually, I think that's something we can do. We can set up maybe like a weekly show with some feature comedian every week coming in.
Yeah. It's going to be great. And I can't wait for the actual comedy club that you're trying to set up.
We're with Mo. We were talking today at lunch. We'll probably do it with Mo.
That's very cool. Because for us here in Comica, it's still something that we're trying to establish here in Jakarta. It's I want to say it's really expensive, but at the same time, it's not really that tough. I understand maybe in Bali, people would want to invest in a comedy club. There will always be people, which is the same thing here in Jakarta. But it's one thing to have the building, and it's another thing to fill it in.
Yeah. Well, now, luckily, we have the opposite problem.
Yeah.
And that's why every week clubs and from all over Bali call me. Because they know that we put out the show and it gets filled immediately. For example, I told you we have 200, 250 people every Friday. By Wednesday, we're already fully booked.
That's crazy.
And we cannot get any more people in.
That is crazy. Yeah. That is a good place to be in.
And also
it's a problem, but it's a good problem to have.
And also now, and this was even before the tourists. Now that the tourists are here, and you can see Bali's getting way busier now.
Yeah. It's also the same thing with the New York comedy scene because tourists are back, and now at comedy clubs, mostly you see just tourists.
Yeah.
People who don't really understand comedy, but they know the brand of Comedy Cellar.
Yeah, of course.
Something like that. And so I remember one time there's this, the host were saying, you're here on a Sunday evening, you must be tourist because New Yorkers.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But it's really good to have this chat. I'm really happy that we get to
finally long time coming.
Because I was in Bali and Reggie asked me to drop by, but because you
were like, I don't want to be that guy.
No. I was just with my family, and
fair enough.
I left them for 5 months, and so when we go to Bali, it's 100%.
How was that?
it's very tough for
Yeah.
for me, for the kids.
Of course.
Especially,
How many kids you have?
I have two.
Nice.
One of them is going to be entering high school in New York, and the other is fifth grade. And it's tough because I've never, especially during the pandemic, we're also always together, right, for 2 years.
It's also good to have a little breather after 2 years of pandemic. You planned it. I see you.
Yeah, but it's very hard. Not only for the kids or for me, but for my wife, because it feels like she's a single mother, and and me being, and it's always, although I'm hustling in New York, but it's
Yeah,
New
you're
York.
doing it for them, obviously, but at the same
and
time.
people be seeing, but you're in New York, It's fun to be in New York, It's but,
Distracting.
Yeah. It's very true, very true. But thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, brother.
It's a pleasure to be actually doing this talk, and I'll be coming to Bali soon and perform stand-up.
Oh, that would be amazing. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Oh, don't forget, get his special at comica.id. I'm not your coach. It's going to be huge laughter on your part, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Terima kasih udah nonton video ini, dan juga terima kasih udah subscribe kanal YouTube gua. Gua mau ngasih tahu bahwa gua membuka YouTube membership, dan ada 3 jenis penawaran. Ada 1 paham Rp30.000, ada 1 rasa Rp125.000, ada 1 jiwa Rp1,5 juta. Masing-masing punya manfaat-manfaat tersendiri. Ada konten-konten khusus yang gue siapkan untuk para member. Kalau tertarik, silakan mampir ke home, klik join.